Hey guys, welcome to another session of Loadouts. So today's video is going to be talking about my team composition and strategy going into the Scorn of the Antenolla. Definitely check out that trial video. You can see me screw up a lot. I basically wasted about 8 turns in my counting. I could have finished it off 8 turns earlier if I didn't screw up. Make sure you have someone that can cover charm protection. Someone that can cover stop protection, either stop protection or cure stop and actually dispel the charm. So this is the team that I went with. Now right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you guys my mistakes going in. I thought I had Odin swap to Fina for finger snap, so it should actually look more like this. And Zargabaath can dispel, Fina can dispel with Odin on, like single target your own team. And this was necessary, and I did need to use it for my team as well because I did miss some steps, so I got charmed. I think I got stopped as well on Bosch a couple times, so it became very helpful. So make sure you have people that can single target dispel your own party, just in case. Now here are the roles. Bosch was pretty much just a cover tank, physical cover tank the whole way through. He could be used for magic cover, but you don't really need it. He also does have some equipment, which we'll get into, that has some innate draw attack, so innate provoke. CG Fina was simply kind of our security for elemental resistance protection, re-raising, dispelling. We had to dispel Antenolla a couple times. Every 4 turns, every time he buffs himself, you want to dispel And she has re-raise and heal, and her LB has AoE re-raise. That was just extra insurance for me. Zargabaath had buffs, had damage mitigation, elemental coverage, also had single target re-raise and MP regen and heal single target. He could of course also have stop resistance if you enhanced him. And then Leela was our damage dealers with tons of plant killers. Now in the actual trial video, I was using PMA's Leela, who he has defeated Antenolla, which by the way, congrats. He did it really quickly, I think. And he had plant killer plus on his Leela, so it's almost identical to my Leela, except he has less spirit for more plant killer, which is actually more worth it. Lid was simply our breaker, and she also sealed elements for some nasty attacks, and we're going to get into it right now. So for Bosch, we also had to make sure he had good elemental coverage. It is recommended that you have 150% wind, earth, and a 100% water resistance throughout the entire match just to cover your bases. Now I didn't, so I relied a bit on elemental buffs, and when I didn't have it, he was still okay. So here's the gear for him. This dagger actually has, I think it's a 10% or 20% all elemental resistance. Asphalas was really good because it covers all 3 of the elements that we need. Judge's Helm also for coverage, and Rainbow Robe of course for 30%. Rico's windsuit was for the wind aspect of the damage, and also has agility for 1 turn every time he's re-raised. And really good defense and spirit to boot. Judge Meister's cloak, I kept this on him to have more innate draw attack in case I couldn't cover. Like for example, if I died and didn't re-raise in time, innate draw attack just to have it, and plus it has 10% HP and 35 defense, which is pretty good all around. Anti-disaster to prevent himself from getting all the nasty status ailments that that Antenolla does, minus disease. So he does do disease, but I kind of just went with it. I think disease cuts your stats by 10%. And Magic Sanctuary for another 25% resistance, and then 2 HP TMRs. I pretty much had to go with as much HP as possible as well. Resentment for 30%, and a Patriotic Recall for 30% HP and 20% defense. Hey, Laterman me. Undercover Sen says it's probably easier for 7 stars because on JP, if you had Transterra, it's probably a 3 to 4 turn fight. Yeah, most likely. Transterra would be able to wreck it, so a lot of people could be waiting for that, and I definitely recommend it unless you want the challenge, and I wanted the challenge. Again, if you watch the trial video, you'll see how challenging it was for me. I have Bosch's uniform for CG Fina because innately she actually covers most of the most annoying status ailments, but Bosch uniform for confusion resist. And I have a Holy Wand here for dual white magic, but really it's for the spirit. Maruchi's cap for wind and earth resistance. Now this is also important. If you have earth resistance for all units in your party, that it comes in handy because it hits you with physical elemental damage and magic elemental damage. Martial Glove. Now a lot of people make fun of me for this. It's like my best in slot for Fina. It's to fill LB. So as you can see, because I'm going with Leela, and Antenolla has a 4-turn rotation of physical damage resistance and then magical damage resistance in that order. Rotates every 4 turns. When he goes under 50% HP, he changes that to a 3-turn rotation. And Leela is, although she does magic damage based on spirit, scaled from spirit, it's a physical attack. So on physical resistance turns, I couldn't actually deal any damage. Means limited LB crystals, which means I needed equipment that would fill LB per turn. And Jake's Pirate Ring also gives us that as well. Increase LB fill rate and LB stone per turn, and mostly is because of the HP. Like I said, HP was super important in this one if I want to survive. 9,400. Patriotic Recall, Thirst for Survival, Mechanical Heart, just in case I wanted to get her to actually heal herself on some off turns. Saves me some turns and opens up some opportunities for me. For Zargabaath, I went with a dual wield because his counters could be nasty, and his dual wield could come in handy if I needed to dispel twice. Now, in the trial video, I did screw up. I used his own innate dispel skill, which has a higher damage modifier than Finger Snap. And I should have just used Finger Snap, but I didn't realize I had Odin on him. So that was my oversight. I went with Crimson Saber because this was enhanced for rain, but it has more HP. So he has 9,900. And then also physical coverage, and with some status element protection, of course. Grand Helm and Grand Armor for more HP and defense. Archer's Talisman. Tried to make him almost a secondary tank in a way. And also this fills Burst Stone's capacity. Patriotic Recall and Magic Sanctuary for another 25% all status element protection. Heavy Armor Arts for HP and defense. And Pure White Blessing because Zargabaath runs out of MP pretty quickly. So that's why I'd had to use him. So Zargabaath, I mean, he has like pretty much, like, he's busy like every single turn. I mean, Word of Law, 30% damage mitigation if this is enhanced for 4 turns. Rejuvenate, single target re-raise, HP and MP heal, and over time. Arcadian Light for the stop protection, paralysis resist. Even though I didn't rely on that, it was mostly for the stop protection and the buffs. Basically, he was busy all throughout. So I got someone on Twitter saying that I'm seeing you use Zargabaath a lot. Why do you use him? And I explained, I mean, he has all those things that CG Nicole doesn't have. So both of them do stuff well. It's just it depends on what kind of team composition you're going with. I would say Zargabaath is definitely a pretty good contender. If 7th star Zargabaath has a dual cast, or he can cast his skills twice, then I think he's going to make CG Nicole... I think I'm going to use Zargabaath a lot more, I would say. And for my Leela here, I went with the neutral element, and basically you did have to. She can imbue herself with lightning and imperil. She can imbue herself with fire and imperil the same element. We had to take advantage of that for 2 of the parts. We did fire damage, and we also had to take care of lightning. We had to imbue one, for one part we had to reduce lightning weakness, and also had to imbue ourselves. And then for Antenolla, the flower, the main body part, we had to go with a neutral element because it's weak to ice, but it doesn't take any other damage from any other elements, but neutral attacks is fine as well. So we had to go with neutral. And a Plant Killer. So now with if you have friends that beat Antenolla, they have Plant Killer Plus. Get them to put both on. So more Plant Killer you have, the more damage you'll do, and it's quite significant. So if you watch the video again with PMAs, Leela did significant damage. Now CG Lid was one of my favorite units to use here. She did pretty much, she had to do a 2-turn rotation. On every odd turn, she would have to use AoE break. Now I would do an AoE attack and magic break because she can seal stuff. So I'm going to show you guys the weapons here. A lot of people didn't get this Necro Dagger. You would have to be here for a previous Halloween event to be able to get it. Now at the time, this seems like, oh, it's so you know, it's not that great. I mean, 2 elements, who does 2 elements? But for this trial, this dagger was like the best equipment to have, because it can seal 2 elements in 1 turn. And if you dual wield her, you can seal wind as well. So basically you need to seal dark, fire, and wind. That was also one of the missions, to do those elemental damage 2 times or more in order to get one of the rewards. And so for sealing, let me just pull this up here so you guys don't get confused. So sealing, you can seal on every odd turn. For the root, it's an AoE MP drain. So if you have to seal, you have to seal with wind. Alright. Otherwise, AoE MP drain. Without it, it would be a single target MP drain. Now, Ivy snorts if you don't seal with fire. Now, arguably, you would have no problem, because you would kill Ivy in one of the fire turns that you have to do anyway. And so that really wouldn't matter. You would seal it every time it's available, but it's just really nice to have, just insurance. And again, and in my trial video, I had turns where I couldn't even do damage because I had to stay alive. Leaf has an AoE earth and wind magic nuke. You have to seal that with dark. And so again, lid on every off turn, able to seal that really helped us. The rest of the stuff is pretty much just HP. Frozen Crown combined with Cloud's uniform gave me 1,000 additional HP, and Pod 153 came in handy because I could use repair, so HP over time when I didn't want to heal, waste a turn healing, and I could use P shield, which helped our Bosch survive a couple turns. It's a 40% physical damage mitigation AoE, which is really nice, and a martial glove on her, the same reason as Fina, for LB fill per turn, since we're not getting a lot of LB crystals throughout. Dual wield and discernment for protecting all status ailments, and then resentment for HP, and mechanical heart for HP and spirit, and also to be able to heal herself on some lucky turns. And so that's why we used her there. And so that's pretty much it for that. I mean, other things to note is that this, you have to cover a lot of stuff. So earth, wind, AoE magic nukes, and also physical. So earth and wind AoE attack, AoE magic nuke, also almost all status ailments, poison, sleep, paralysis, confusion, disease, and charm. Okay. Another reason why I had Lakshmi on is that Lakshmi is leveled up with charming protection. So on the 2-turn rotation, what I could do with lid on the charming ones, which is when Antenolla is on magical resistance turns, magical resistance turns, Antenolla will begin to use AoE charm. And so on those off turns, it's really good to have a lid with Lakshmi, because she can just rotate charming protection and breaks, just like that. And I did screw up in my trial video again. A lot of screw ups in this one. I'm just really fortunate I beat it, but yeah, that happens a lot. Another thing is that the flower, when you get to the flower turn, once you get to 40%, there's a 40% threshold and a 20% threshold, does an AoE magic attack. So unless you're covering both physical and magic, you're not going to survive. It's really hard to survive. You have to have like really good elemental resistance, and also really good spirit in order to survive. I think my Fina survived in one of my test runs, but for the majority of the team, it's really hard. So that's why Fina had her LB. But in my trial, I did cast Naiden, so triple cast on Leela on the turn I was about to kill, just right above 40%. And I was able to burst it down all the way to 0 from 40, which is really good. And again, thanks to PMA's Plant Killer Plus, that would definitely help. So like, for example, I'm gonna just swap in here. So if you're looking for a good build, make sure you have 50% to spirit, and I should have a Plant Killer Plus. It's in my mailbox, so I'm not gonna even equip it here. Yeah, so that's pretty much it here. Let's see. See if there's any other information I missed. Otherwise, yes. Otherwise, Antenolla flower, so the main one, the big flower, 50% weak to ice, vulnerable only to magic breaks. So by that turn, just make sure you're heavily magic breaking it. Antenolla B, which is called Ivy, which is, if you're looking at the actual trial boss, it's the most top right portion of the boss, has a 50% innate weakness to fire, and can be defense and magic broken. And again, like I said, if you dispel its buffs and then just break attack and magic AoE, which is what I did with Lid, a 50% AoE break, it just saves a lot of time and increases survivability by a lot. Antenolla C, which is Root, which is what I took down as the third part to kill, has a neutral resistance to lightning, but is weak to wind. Now, what I did was just imbue and Imperial Lightning on that part, and I was able to, I think, 2-shot that one. And then the very last part is Leaves, the very bottom portion of Antenolla, Antenolla D. It's neutral to fire resistance, and so, you know, imbuing myself with fire and then imperiling fire was really good as well. You can also hit it with a neutral element if I remember correctly, so it should be okay. That one's vulnerable to attack and defense breaks. And I should state that Antenolla C, the Root, the middle one, the one that's that can be weak to lightning, is vulnerable to Spirit Break as well. So what I did was I did break Spirit and Imperial Lightning on the same turn, even though it costed my my Leela's a perfect chain. Anyways, I think that's all for now. If you guys have any questions, obviously watching this on YouTube, drop a comment down below if you guys have questions on the trial. I'll try to help you out, but I will give credit to a lot of the guys that took on this trial before I did. Ran out of time because both trials were really tough during the weekend. And so a lot of the guys on Discord, Mago, Taruchi, PMA, these guys took on Antenolla, so you guys got the credit for this. They helped, and they were just like typing out tips and stuff. I read it, and I was kind of like, okay, so I'm going to build my team comp around this. I don't think I use a identical team for any of them, and all three of those guys used a different team. They all had either like a Wilhelm and Veritas of the Earth in there, or a different healer. Someone used CG Nicole, I think. Anyways, it was totally different. Damage dealers were different. Some people used Fravia. That's another thing, actually. Conshira and Fravia might be a really good one to use here, because hybrid damage, as long as you can get both attack and magic to about the same level of attack, and I would say emphasize on the physical portion of the attack, not the magic. The reason is because more physical killers if you go with this build, with Ifrit, and you get more damage during the physical turn. So I would definitely consider hybrid damage units, which means you can deal damage every single turn. You don't have to wait. It's just that Leela is OP, so so every 4-turn wait was actually worth it to me. I think I ended off still beating it pretty early, I suppose. I think compared to hybrid damage dealers, I think it's about the same time that hybrid damage dealers can take it on. So anyways, that's it for this one. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.